Now, you wrote a book recently called Litanies of the Heart.
Correct.
Everyone I speak to who's read this book has said it's life-changing. And I always feel honored because I'm like, I know that guy. We were in a D&D group together. I don't tell him that, but everyone knows now. But yeah, like it's neat because a lot of fellas or people write their books kind of young, you know, and you've been in this profession for a while. And so it's almost like you took a lot of this wisdom and knowledge and put it into this gorgeous book, by the way.
Thank you.
Who was it? Sophia?
Sophia Institute Press.
They did an excellent job. They always do. Their books are always so readable and nice to pick up.
Yeah. Like really a lot of what I know or learn from parts work like IFS, ego state therapy, EMDR is all in there.
Give us, I've got a question about parts work, but I want you to tell people what it is briefly. What is parts work?
So it's this type of therapy where you look inside, so you go inward, and you identify that within your personality, you have multiple parts. And so, in other words, so if you think about it like an inner child, it's kind of that idea. You might have more than one possibly inner child within, or you have a part of you that kind of shows up when you're at work, or another part of you that shows up, you know, as a dad or whatnot. And so we have this inner multiplicity, but we also have within us, and the saints and mystics throughout the church will all bear this out, an inmost self.
Okay. This is what I wanted to get to.
Center. Yeah.
Because you had said earlier that a lot of this is in the saints.
Yes.
Because just, you know, phenomenologically, I agree with it, because how many times have we said, well, part of me wants to, part of me doesn't.
Right.
You know, there's a part of me that's a rat bag and it's just doing this for the wrong reason. But there's another part of me, and I think it's a deeper part of me that wants this for the right reasons. You know? It reminds me of St. Paul, who says some people preach Christ for gain, you know, and selfishness, and some people preach him for the right reasons. And he says, what do I care? So long as Christ is being preached. You know what I'm referring to?
I do.
I mean, that's a paraphrase.
Yeah.
Here's the point. I think that about myself, you know, like here I am with this podcast. Yeah, part of me absolutely is doing this for wrong reasons, you know, but a deeper part of me, and I think this is true of everyone. I'm not just singling me out. I think a lot of us have different reasons for why we do the things that we do, but it doesn't mean we're wrong to do them.
Right.
But you can counsel me on that if you think
I would
wrong.
actually, because I would, and I don't know, we don't have to do a session right now, but I would certainly be happy to notice, right, for you to notice the part of you that is doing this for good reasons, that has that sort of noble purpose and all of that. But I would actually want to bring in and understand better the part of you that is doing it for, you're saying, the wrong reasons, right? So I would want to understand that. So part of like an IFS kind of approach would be like, yeah, like, can we get connected to that part of you and hear it and understand better what its motivation is, right?
Because do you think there's, and we don't have to talk about you specifically, but do you think, isn't this true of everyone who does anything, right?
Yes.
The part of you does this because you want to be the hero. Right. You want people to say, look how wise Gerry is. He wrote a book. How brilliant is Gerry? And we all have, I do this. Everyone does this, right? I think I tend to be more skeptical about myself than a lot of people. I kind of begin with what's the worst case scenario, and that's probably what it is. But what do you do with that?
Yeah.
How do you live with yourself when you realize, no, part of me is definitely doing this for immature reasons.
Right.
But then to be okay with that. And by okay, I don't mean leave it where it is.
Right.
I just mean don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the fact that, yeah, you're doing this because you'd like, not you, I mean, sorry. Right. Let's say me. You're a podcaster. A lot of people watch your show. You get recognized now when you go to an airport. Like, you like that. You like when people come up and say that their lives have been helped. And you probably like that for a reason that doesn't even have to do with Christ.
Right.
And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of that, though. Just,
well, here's the one way to look at it is when you have a part like that, which we all do, right? Who want that recognition and who want, you know, to be noticed and affirmed and everything else. It would be good to figure out the story of that part of you and to explore it. And when you can connect in with that part of you and the therapy does that, you might start to realize or learn, oh, this is a part of me that goes back really far. Like when I'll make this up, right? Like when you were, 10 and you showed your dad, how you were you could ride your bicycle, and your dad looked at you and said, yeah, you'd ride like a girl or something, right? Or some horrible thing. And sticks with you. And so there's this part of you that carries this burden of, I'm not good enough. Nothing I do is good enough. Nothing I do will ever please my dad or anybody, right? And so this becomes a burden maybe that you get in childhood. And then you, as an adult, that part of you stays with you, still at that 8-year-old or whatever level of maturity, and it's within you. And now when we understand our parts, we talk about them as sometimes they blend. In other words, think of it like your beautiful inmost self is this beautiful sun, right? And shines God's love and light. But this part is a planet, and it just shows up and eclipses the sun and takes over. So this 8-year-old part that was never affirmed and is in desperate need for affirmation and tension is in charge of your system. If it gets to a point where that's happening, then you're dangerous. Right? Because you don't mean to be, and it's not like there's a moral thing exactly that you're intending it. It's just that all of a sudden then there'll be a never ending need for affirmation and everybody to love me and want me. And I'll keep doing things in order to get more and more praise and more and more. And so that could become dangerous, right? That if that's your life. So instead it's like, well, this type of therapy is about like, can we approach that part of you? Yeah. Can we give him now? We can't change dad and what dad said back then. Even if dad's alive now and nicer, we can't, it's too late. But we can approach that part in the here and now and give it what it always needed. And we do that by connecting it with our inmost self, which itself is connected with Christ. And we can bring it the love and whatever it needs and learn, this was just a kid who just wanted to be like affirmed. That's it. Yeah. And that now your system, plus the other parts of you that are doing it right for the good reason, and you care about your mission and you care about, bringing something to people. And you've got this other part that now is becoming more mature, right? That previously needed endless affirmation, maybe doesn't now. You discover, oh, well, what was that part meant to be? Maybe that part is more genuinely playful. Maybe that part of you is meant to be more a part of you that's just sort of joyful. Well, we bringing that in, and your system's just richer for it, right? And so this is can be a powerful transformation of the whole person.
I think what I'm saying, and if you still tell me why you think the correction was necessary, what I'm saying is I think a lot of us don't acknowledge the less than virtuous reasons we do things.
Right.
Because we're afraid that they exist. And so we tell ourselves a story about why, no, right. I'm only about the truth. I want to, as opposed to going, well, yeah, I am, but then there's also this motivation and this motivation. So that's probably the first step, isn't it? Right. To not be totally thrown off if you begin to realize that within you are multiple motivations for getting married or having children. But then and then you tell me if I'm interpreting you correctly. It sounds like what you're saying is, sure, first step, but then there's got to be a way to sort of reconnect that or reintegrate that with the true self.
So if you have, like, I was describing like that part with that wound, and then now the way it's coping is to just endlessly need attention and praise. Well, that part might sort of be there, but live like kind of existing a little under the surface. So you're not aware of it. So I think what you're talking about is like other parts of your system are going, well, that's bad. That part of me, we don't want to admit is there. Yeah. So we're just going to shove it away. And so it's there, but we're not acknowledging it.
And we're not acknowledging it because we're deeply ashamed that we might have bad motivations for something.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And so even talk about the addiction, like the guy who's struggling with porn and masturbation, right? Well, we see that in IFS terms, like we call that a firefighter part usually. It wouldn't typically be. And so it's a part of the system that jumps in whenever we can't handle something emotionally maybe, or we can't or we're stressed or whatever. It's a part that has learned, if I do this behavior, I will feel better, at least temporarily. Yeah. And so it then does that eclipse thing, right? And maybe it's doing it all the time, right? It's in and out constantly. But meanwhile, another part of your system is hating it. So it's like, so that within you might be this part that is, automatically, just jumping in and doing this unhealthy behavior, and another part of you is like mad as heck that you're doing that at all and heaping shame on it, right? And so within you is this like, war, like St. James talks about a war of my members, like there's this war within, right? And so that creates tons of anxiety for that person, right? And there's no peace, there's no harmony there. It's this constant battle. And at some point or another, a person gives up in a sense, and that's where they might head into a depression. Or they might allow like let's say maybe it's porn and masturbation, it might be tied with drinking or something too. And that's where they get to a point where all they're doing is drinking. All they're doing is like they don't care anymore because they're tired of that inner battle going on over and over every day, right? So this approach really helps, instead of like shaming this part, right? And this is what surprises people all the time, is you connect with this part of you and say, okay, when did this start for you? Or you learn to cope in this way. We're not judging it. We want to understand it. And so there's part of you that learned to cope through whatever the addiction. Okay, you did this. This was a way for you to survive. And then, okay, this is the shocking one that I will sometimes use and mean, is to say, could you imagine thanking that part? Because for the last 30 years, this part of you has been trying to survive. You may not like the way it has chosen to or felt it had to, but man, oh man, there's a part of you that's been in misery for a long time, but because it thinks it's saving you. Can we at least acknowledge how rough that is? Instead of like shaming it, like, oh my gosh, this part of you is incredible. Imagine what this part would be like if we could get his needs met properly.
Thanks very much for watching that clip. You can click the link below if you want to watch the full interview, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.